Hi, and welcome to another Sunday in the office. And on today's topic is whether having a company in an office means you're successful, you can stop working altogether, and what are the actual behind the scenes of running a business. If at least for a little bit, I'll be trying to raise the curtain and show you that not everything that you see, be it on the Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it might be, that it is not how it usually is. And in a lot of cases, and I'm not saying all of them, I'm saying a lot of cases, it is just made to look and present a certain lifestyle, if you will, that is not necessarily the case. I'll try to give you a simple example on basis of a car sales. Well, at least I hope that this example will be straightforward as I'm imagining it to be. So what does it take to run a car business? Very surface type look at the business. So you've got your rent. Let's say the rent is, for the sake of example, I'm not sure what the actual rates and stuff are, but you've got yourself a small facility and you've got yourself a parking space, and let's say that costs you 500 quid a month, and that's your basic rent with everything included, let's say, for the sake of example. Then you've got one employee that has to have, that's working there full time to give the cars out and take new cars and whatnot. So you're offering basically sales and you're offering part exchange, let's say. That's how you get your cheaper cars, if not anywhere else. But let's say that's the case. And that worker works 5 days, almost 40 hours per week. So he will be, let's say, on a minimum wage, and that will end up, let's say, around £1,000 a month as well. So your current expenses are £1,500 per month. And let's say you're able to sell, or that worker is able to sell each car at 250 quid premium, not premium, but like what is it, profit, there we go, at a profit at 250 quid. So in order to get £1,500, you can easily calculate the 4 cars will pay his salary and 2 more cars will cover the rent. That makes it total to 7 cars. And even if we've got electricity, something else, let's throw one more car, 8 cars. So 8 cars to be sold in a month just to break even with everything that's going on around the shop, around everything. And you can easily calculate that 8 cars per month, it's 4 cars every fortnight, or 2 cars per week. So your worker has, or the social media or whatever he's doing to promote the sales, your worker eventually, or you as a business rather, has to sell 2 cars per week. So you've got 2.5 days, let's say, to sell 1 car. While that can be difficult for someone, it can be easy for another one. And obviously it all depends on circumstances, what you're selling and whatnot. We're not speaking about that. We are just plainly looking at how it actually works and what the base model could be, and what does it mean in success and overall terms. So if you're able to sell more than that, obviously that goes into profit. But if you don't, then you have to catch up another week or pay out from your own pocket. And obviously the prices may vary drastically all over the place and all over the calculations. But even if you have an office and you have a worker or an employee and you've got something to sell, it doesn't mean that you're making profit, first of all, because people have to find you. And although the margins seem to be low, that is expenses which you have to pay. Obviously there's more than that, but let's just keep it this way for sake of example. So you can see that it doesn't take a lot. Well, there will be upfront costs and everything, as I've explained in my office video, that it takes a lot of money to get that initial whole thing going, but once it's set up and running, it's not as much as your initial thing. So you could just save up, build the whole entire infrastructure or most of it at the very beginning, and then just support it with something with more money. I mean, unless it's bringing in good money and it's running itself. That's why you see a lot of businesses run in a negative margins, and when they just begin or began their trading and at their very beginning. But even and for some cases, for some companies, it's even longer than that. It's half a year, it's 1 year, it's 2 years, it's 3 years, depending on what the project is, depending on what the company is, depending on where it's going. Thank you. Benefits of having a road outside just the office that goes through the whole city, and that's the only way around. I'm diversing. So even if you see that someone has an office, that someone has a business, because in order to register a business, even not yourself, but through either solicitor or a accountant, let's say, you would only spend like 100 to 150 quid at most, I would assume. And getting an office is pretty much just saving and opening an office. Even if you don't have a product, if you don't know anything about the business, you just go to one certain people to open your company, you go to another certain group of people to get yourself an office, and the result is you've spent a lot of money, but you have no product, no stuff, no idea. And that's actually why a lot of businesses fail, because either they go to office too early, or they didn't fully look at their model. Well, I guess I'm digressing too much again. Back to basics. Yes, so having an office just means having expenses. The same as running a company doesn't mean you're successful. Having a company on its own doesn't make you any more successful or knowledgeable or trustful in certain aspects of running a business. So if you see someone and he's like, oh, I run a company, I have an office in this place, that usually, for most of people who don't know this stuff, it's just like, wow, you're a businessman, entrepreneur or whatever, and you're like, tell me all about this, how to run this business. That's not how it works. You can open both the company and have an office and go bankrupt the next day, but during that day that you have all of this, you can say, I have a business, and I run a company, and I have an office. So that's pretty much how it works. It doesn't take a lot to actually achieve this specific result, and besides, you can just rent an office from someone like this and just show that and say, look at me, I'm successful, I can teach you how to run your business. And speaking of which, that's another lie. If someone is a successful gardener, or if someone's successful car salesman, or if someone's successful solicitor, they most probably won't know how to run your specific business. If you're doing cakes, if someone's selling pizzas, let's say Domino's or whatever, and you're opening a cake shop, like a tea shop, where you can just come in, pick your donut and have a cup of tea, cup of coffee, and go on your way. Sort of like a Starbucks, if you will, but much smaller case, so to say. And you go to that mentioned Domino's, and you ask for the owner, and you ask him for the advice, because you see they're selling a lot of pizzas, they're well established, they're been there for a long time, and obviously being a franchise. Speaking of which, Domino's is not just one thing, like Tesco's is. Tesco's is a branch of a big company, and there is no one within the actual store, the Tesco store, that will tell you how to run the business, because they are not a franchises. They are pretty much just a branch of someone, and there's someone above them, and there's someone above them, and there's someone above them, and then there's the main office and whatnot. So they know nothing about running the business within the actual shop itself. It's all predetermined somewhere in there. But back to franchises and Domino's. Now, the Domino's is franchise-based business, and I know that because of research. And I've spoken to several owners of them franchises. So these franchisees, what they did is they just picked a lump sum of money up front. They went to Domino's and said, I want to have a franchise with you guys, or from you guys, whichever is the right way to say it. And what happens as a result, Domino's says, okay, we like this location that you've picked, let's say, and this is overly simplified. It's way more than that, but that's the location. So this is where you get your dough, this is where you get your ketchup, this is where you get your pepperoni, this is where you get your cheese, this is what this is called machinery you will need and equipment, this is where you get it, and this is how we will deliver it. You pay us that much in revenue, you pay us that much in commissions, you pay us that much on something, and this is what you can keep. And if we say jump, you jump, i.e. You make this pizza and not that pizza, and you're not allowed, let's say, make your own pizza in your own name or whatever. So basically, even though they run a business, they run it by a strict manual from someone. And even if you're opening a pizza shop and you go to that to Domino's, not a cake shop but a pizza shop, and you go to Domino's, which is a pizza shop, and you ask for an advice, their options will be very limited, not because they are limited by contract, but they are limited because they paid someone to build the business model for them that will not work for you 99% of the time, especially competing if you are. So even if they are willing, in most cases it's not that someone is not willing to help you with just an advice, even if that's your competitor, it's because they are unable to. And unfortunately, for the most part, what you can see online now is this magical person who all of a sudden goes to Dubai, rides in a Rolls Royce or whatever, and tells you, I've done nothing. Well, they say they've done this and that, and I've been here and there, but obviously no proofs of that. And they say, if you buy this course, like a property management course, real estate flipping course, I've seen recently, well, a year ago in Liverpool, for example, there was supposedly some footballers made course that cost you £997 as a special discount, and they will teach you how to flip houses or buy to rent houses and make a business, make a profit and everything like that. No, in most cases, every single business is unique, as well as you're unique. So the situations are unique, and most practices won't work. Person from London will most probably struggle to get a business up and running in rural village. Imagine any rural village, Bearsco, I don't know. So they do not correlate. The market is different, everything's different, and this is why when you see someone in a £5,000 suit riding an expensive car and being a director of an office, does not, in most cases, does not correlate to actual success. Because, well, yes, there is an office and it might be covered, but he could be in debt, he could be owing lots of money to his suppliers, if that's the case. The car is most probably a leased car, and neither him or the business actually owe it. Well, it could be in leased business, which is even worse, maybe, potentially. I will know when I get there. But at least do not believe what you see, and double check everything for yourself, because otherwise it will turn out ugly pretty quick. As you've probably heard the statistics of the businesses going bankrupt, that 9 out of 10 businesses, or 5 out of 10, or whatever other number, it's mostly true, whatever the number is, the higher the number of the businesses that go bankrupt in their first year is a very high number, and almost the rest of them go bankrupt in the next 3 to 5 years. And that's mostly true, and this is for many reasons. But first of all, people looking at other pretend to be successful people, and they are just trying to go in there, spending money, taking loans. Loans. Don't do loans. And they're trying and they're failing because they haven't done the research. They just listen to some pretty guy, or woman for that matter, telling how easy it is, how nice it is, how many Lambos I have in my garage, and you can do the same. So go on, take the loans, build a business. Yeah, that's just not how it works. As far as my specific example and what you can see here, and as far as the number game goes, because I mean, while you can see my initial video showing myself in my room, which is still an office, but I've moved into another room now, and the downstairs living room being occupied by the business. The business itself, while it is bringing in money, as you obviously know, because in order to get the office, I wouldn't get the office if the income from the business would not cover the costs of running an office. While in some cases you might have to have an office, and in that case you would have to just cough off a bit more money up front, but for the most part the business is covering the office, the business is covering the supplies, because the way I'm raising this business is not the way most businesses are risen, I would assume, where the investors, the initial investors, be the directors or friends or family, or even the loan for that matter, you would start the business and you would work your butt off to make it work. You would rent an office, you would hire people to work for you, and you would try to make the ends meet and sell your stuff eventually, essentially. And for me, because I'm running this from a very ground up and £0 whatsoever, I'm doing it the long way around. So, which means I've started trading, not as a business, as a hobby. We began trading as a hobby, and we've started building our portfolio products wise. We've seen how it grows, how it dies, how the trend comes and goes. We figured out what we need, and as the money started rolling in, be it bigger sums or smaller sums, we chucked it all together. Nothing was taken out of the business. We kept both of our jobs, and we kept investing in the business at the very beginning, and towards more recent events, or rather pre-office events, half a year ago maybe, or just a bit more, when the business went into a phase where we do not take any salaries, but the business is capable for keeping itself afloat, which means it pays for its own equipment if it needs one, and it is able to pay the suppliers whatever the supplies that we're using. So the business is paying for itself at that matter, and that for me was the first milestone where business was self-sufficient, self-feeding, even if we weren't able to take any money out of the business. And that will be the case for some time, for most of you, depending on what you do, but obviously. So the second step is when we actually could afford an office. That's when we started to look for an office and obviously see what goes into the office. And as this whole thing grew, obviously all you have to do is keep expanding the product line, keep researching, keep adding products, keep adding products. Have I repeated this enough? Yes. Yes, keep adding products, by the way. And this is how this grows. At least this specific type of business, this is how we grow it. Obviously, if we would have the funds, I would hire 10 employees. 10 of them would be producing designs and decals, and another 5 or so would be dispatching them, let's say. And the business would just grow exponentially, doubling, tripling, quadrupling, and you know it. And millionaire and riding Bugattis before the next Christmas and stuff. But that's not the case. So we are going from ground up, we're going steadily up, and at this very moment the business is able to sustain an office, sustain suppliers, sustain some extra expenses, and if need be, I'm even able to pull out a bit of cash. It's not a lot, it's not enough to cover even one employee for a full-time wage, but it is enough to do part-time for at least one of them. So in the conclusion, what I could say is that success is not measured in material standards, so to say, because that's how we work ended up ruining itself, having huge evaluation of $50 billion or whatever. They had lots of offices, lots of premises, lots of huge everything, and they went bankrupt like that. That's why the success is not the amount of yachts you've got, not the expensive watches or anything. The success is measured by the... Actually, what is it measured by? I mean, when you're working and it's enough money to pay for your expenses, and you're working not for somebody else but for yourself, and you're paid, and everybody else are paid, I mean employees, I guess that's the success. Well, I mean, for some people this is success, and that's all they want to achieve, like mom's pop's store selling souvenirs, for let's say. I mean, they would be pretty happy just to come into their own shop and sell something and make out of living out of that. Or some resellers on eBay, for example, they are quite happy to do just that, just resell for them enough to live comfortably. But obviously for some reason, not for some reason, but for some people rather, some people have their life expectancies set somewhere there, and they want to ride 3 Bugattis to their office and then live their life in that way, and it's not enough for them to have something minuscule by their standards, to just have their expenses paid and everything set up. Well, yeah, slightly longer video, but hopefully this one's a bit more comfortable without the strobe lights at the top. So I chose a bit of an earlier time to do this Sunday video, and hopefully you can learned something from this, and hopefully maybe you have your own experience or opinions on this. So do express them in the comments below, because while I can tell you my side of the story, there's always a lot more, and obviously your experience does vary, and that's how you grow and evolve. You learn about other people's experiences as well, and learn not only firsthand, which is the very most, but you learn from other people. See what you come up with. See you next Sunday.